And Nik Nanos is going to join us now to talk a little bit about the tariffs and what Canadians think about it. He's the founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research. Nick, how are you?
Good, Roger. How you doing?
Good as always for a Saturday morning and a long weekend. Who could complain about that? But let's talk about who's complaining about the tariffs, what kind of deals we should be signing. What are Canadians thinking on that?
Well, what's not to complain about tariffs?
Oh.
I know President Trump likes tariffs, but I think beyond President Trump, I'm not sure how many Canadians or people in other countries like them. You know, it's interesting, Roger. We ask about Canadians or the Canadian government whether there be support for tariffs on imports from U.S. goods coming into Canada, even if the prices go up. And what's clear is that Canadians are much more likely to support rather than oppose tariffs on the imports from the U.S. And you know, the thing is that you know, even when we look at whether they think that a deal with the U.S. is worth signing, if it includes some sort of tariffs on Canadian imports, it's much more of a mixed bag. You can see that people are more likely to oppose rather than support. So you know, the thing is that Canadians are okay with tariffs and paying for the cost, but they are not hot on a deal that could include tariffs on Canadian goods and are worried about the trade-offs on that front.
Well, not surprising there because it'll hurt them financially, right? Let's talk a little bit about the de minimis. The end of it happened yesterday. What kind of an impact is that having?
Well, you know, the thing is that, you know, what we're looking at is a situation on the tariff front where a lot of businesses are really looking at this closely and wondering what the impact might be. And I think, you know, there's a broader narrative about, you know, Canadians knowing that they've had a very positive and stable trade relationship with the United States since the 1980s when the first free trade agreement came in. And now what we're seeing is a lot of uncertainty and changes. So, you know, if you're an average business, you know, how do you plan day by day when the reality is that the rules on tariffs and imports realistically change almost, you know, why don't we just say tweet by tweet from the American president?
And of course, that leads us nicely into the last question. What do people think of the idea Trump's going to actually honor his word if there's any deals?
Yeah, you know, these numbers really popped, and you know, it speaks to the environment. You can see that you know, Canadians don't really have a lot of confidence that U.S. President Trump will honor his word, even if a trade deal is signed between Canada and the United States. And you know, what's clear, at least for a lot of Canadians at least, is they see Donald Trump, and this is part of his negotiating strategy, is to always ask for more, always change things, always keep his opponents or his, why don't we say, his negotiating counterparty off balance. And that's just part of the way the guy operates. That's why he, you know, love or hate him, he has been a success. He is the president of the United States. But, you know, the thing is that even if a trade deal is signed between Canada and the United States, there will be lingering doubts as to whether the terms of that trade deal will be enforced and whether they're in place.
Okay. Nick, thanks as always. Appreciate talking to you.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Nik Nanos is the founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research.